Please state your name and spell your last for the court record.
Riley McAlister, McAlister.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Your Honor, before I proceed, I request a time check.
The prosecution has 5 minutes and 46 seconds remaining.
May I proceed?
You may.
Ms. McAlister, what is your profession?
I'm the principal at Rosewood High School.
Have there been any problems with the students at the school?
Yes, we have had many drug incidents on campus.
Ms. McAlister, how many drug incidents have there been at the school this year?
Well, we have had 6, and if you ask me, that's 6 too many.
And what have you done to try and prevent these drug incidents?
Well, I first took extensive professional development courses on students' use of drugs, and then I began lecturing classes on the dangers of drug abuse, starting with fourth grade game.
Ms. McAlister, do you know Alex Weaver?
Yes, Alex transferred to Rosewood High in the fall of 2012 after being expelled, but she seems like a good kid to me.
Can you recall if Alex Weaver and Ray Concha were at your band presentation?
Yes, they were.
Ms. McAlister, I draw your attention to January of this year. Did you have a conversation with your vice principal about the drug problems at your school?
Yes, I did.
What did you do in response to this?
Well, I contacted the local chief of police, and she recommended using an undercover officer to help their drug problems.
What were the results of her search for an undercover officer?
Within 2 weeks, she had located an officer named Robin Doherty.
When did you and the officer first meet?
We met in late January so that I could brief her on her upcoming assignment, and she would go undercover as Sam Shumway from Iowa.
On what day did Officer Doherty start at Rosewood High?
February 4th.
I bring your attention to March 27th. Did anything significant happen that morning?
Our band director, Avery Perkins, told me that Jason Johnson, one of our students, had collapsed and that paramedics were on the way. So I rushed over to see what I could do and called Jason's parents.
What happened next with Jason?
Paramedics took him away, but he died when we went to the hospital, and I later found out that Adderall and alcohol were found in his system.
What, if anything, did you do next?
I called Officer Doherty and asked her to find any information possible from the students.
I bring your attention to later that same day. Did Miss Alex Weaver have a conversation with you?
Yes, she did.
What did she tell you?
Alex told me that she had seen Ray Concha sell Adderall and marijuana on 2 or 3 occasions next to her SUV in the
Objection,
parking
Your
lot.
Honor. Hearsay.
Counsel?
Honor may be heard.
You may.
This testimony is not hearsay because it is not used to prove the truth of the matter asserted therein that the defendant is a drug dealer, but is rather used to provide ample reason for the principal to call Officer Doherty into her office to begin the search of the defendant's car on March 27th.
Counsel?
Your Honor, the statement that is being brought in is that my client is a drug dealer, and that is the truth. That is the matter asserted. That is what the statement is being brought for.
Objection overruled. For that limited purpose, I'll
May I continue?
get you.
What, if anything, did you do in response to this?
I took Ray out of class and, I called Officer Doherty into my office and asked Alex to repeat everything she had told me to the officer.
What, if anything, did you do next?
I then found the standard waiver that Ray and her parents had signed, allowing her car to be searched, so I asked Doherty to search Ray's car.
What, if anything, did the officer find?
The officer found a backpack in the hallway of clothes, which she later confirmed were Adderall.
And what did you do in light of this new information?
I took Ray out of class and brought her to the school's parking lot.
What, if anything, did Miss Concha do after you brought her to the parking lot?
When Ray saw that her SUV's tailgate was open, she said, "Oh no."
What happened next?
I brought Ray over to her car. Officer Doherty identified herself as an officer and arrested Ray.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Question again.
Yes. Before I proceed, Your Honor, the defense would like to request a time.
The defense has 2 minutes and 36 seconds remaining.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
As principal of Rosewood High School, you're deeply concerned about student drug abuse, isn't that true?
Of course.
But you've had 6 drug-related incidents, correct?
Yes.
I'm looking for a number. Of those 6 incidents, how many have involved my client?
None.
Based on your observations, Ray stayed out of trouble, didn't she?
This is true.
Nonetheless, one person told you that Ray was dealing Adderall, isn't that true?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Counsel?
Your Honor, if it pleases the court, what is the part of this statement that is irrelevant, that the objection is referring to?
Counsel, what are you suggesting is irrelevant?
I do. The counsel does not see how it is, the fact that one person told the principal that Ray was dealing drugs is relevant to this case?
Counsel?
The fact that it was only one person and then followed by the fact that that was enough for this principal to call the officer questions her credibility.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, the fact of whether 1 or 10 people told this witness about Ray Concha's apparent drug dealing in no way affects her credibility. She was merely responding to information that she received.
You can handle that on redirect. Jan, the question.
Could you repeat the question, please?
One person told you that Ray was dealing drugs,
Yes,
and that person was Alex Weaver. Is that true?
this is true.
But Alex Weaver didn't have any evidence, did she?
Well, she had told me that she had seen
2 minutes.
Ray sell these drugs
But
next to
she
us.
could not present to you any evidence beyond her word. Is that true?
Yes.
Now, ultimately, you found that Ray was keeping Adderall in her car, correct?
Officer Doherty did tell me this.
But doesn't Ray have a prescription for Adderall?
Yes, she does.
And as an educator, don't you allow students to keep their prescribed medication?
That is dealt with in the nurse's office.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, good afternoon, Dr. Sanchez. What is your profession?
I've been the medical examiner coroner in Rosary County for 8 years.
I bring your attention to March 27th of this year. Did you conduct an autopsy that day?
I examined the decedent, Jason Johnson, who had been a high school student in Rosary High.
Were you able to determine the cause of death?
Mr. Johnson experienced a cardiac arrhythmia, or a lethal change in heart rhythm, which resulted in his cardiac arrest.
And were you able to determine the date and time of death?
Mr. Johnson died on March 27th at 8:53 a.m.
Did you conduct any blood tests on the victim?
Yes, I conducted 2.
And what were the results?
Well, the first test revealed Mr. Johnson's blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, to be 0.05 at the time of his death.
And the second test?
The second test found traces of Adderall in Mr. Johnson's system, despite the fact that he did not have a prescription for the drug.
And what is Adderall?
Adderall is an amphetamine drug used primarily to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
And how often is a drug like Adderall prescribed?
It's fairly common.
And what is the recommended dose for a person Jason's age?
For someone his age, it ranges from 10 to 20 milligrams a day with a 30 milligram maximum.
Is a 30 milligram dose of Adderall considered dangerous?
Yes, but especially in children and teens.
And how many milligrams of Adderall did you find in Jason's system?
40 milligrams.
Was Adderall a factor in Jason's death?
The Adderall Mr. Johnson had consumed was a significant causal factor in his death.
Could the 40 milligrams of Adderall found in his system be considered a lethal amount?
Well, typically no, however Mr. Johnson was an exception.
How so?
Mr. Johnson suffered from a severe case of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, for his entire life.
What is HCM?
HCM is a congenital heart disease that causes the heart muscles to thicken and blocks blood flow to the heart.
And how did the Adderall Jason ingested affect his pre-existing heart condition?
Mr. Johnson's heart defect placed him at an elevated risk to even an average dose of Adderall.
Could Jason's alcohol consumption have exacerbated his HCM?
Yes, but it was not the main cause of Mr. Johnson's sudden cardiac arrest.
How can you be so sure?
Because even considering Mr. Johnson's heart defect, his BAC was too low to have caused death.
What did cause the cardiac arrhythmias that led to Jason's death?
The amphetamine and the Adderall Mr. Johnson consumed led to a coronary vasospasm.
What is a vasospasm?
A vasospasm is a narrowing of one of the coronary arteries which supplies blood flow to the heart.
And what are the effects of a vasospasm?
Well, it can stop blood flow and lead to arrhythmias and death.
Therefore, Dr. Sanchez, in your professional opinion, what was the cause of Mr. Johnson's death?
Mr. Johnson's death was a result of a sudden cardiac arrhythmia brought on by the 40 milligrams of Adderall found in his system.
Thank you. Your Honor, no further questions.
Any question examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Before I begin, I'd like to ask for a time check.
The defense has 1 minute and 32 seconds remaining.
May I proceed?
You may.
Now, Jason Johnson had a heart disease, right?
Yes.
And its symptoms are exacerbated by alcohol, yes or no?
Yes, but in this case, the 0.05 blood alcohol.
Objection, non-responsive. I ask for a yes or no.
I'll give this witness that's, I'll give a little bit more latitude to extra witnesses. You can answer.
Yes, but in this case, a 0.05 blood alcohol content would not have exacerbated his heart enough to cause death.
But you don't know when he started drinking, do you?
No.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance?
Counsel?
I'm going to show that as time goes by, people sober up and therefore prior to the examination, the blood alcohol content level could have been at a much higher level and therefore could have been lethal.
Counsel?
Your Honor, I changed my objection to no personal knowledge.
Counsel?
Your Honor, Dr. Ricky Sanchez is a qualified expert witness and is able to testify on this.
Objection sustained. Next question.
Now you said that Jason's heart disease could have been exacerbated by Adderall, right?
Yes.
But for Adderall to be toxic, you need to have 60 milligrams, isn't that right?
Yes, but Mr. Johnson did have a heart defect, so he was.
Objection, non-responsive.
Objection, no,
Let me hear the question again.
But for Adderall to be toxic, you need to have 60 milligrams.
And your answer?
I was saying that, yes, but Mr. Johnson suffered from a heart defect, which placed that dosage of 40 milligrams as a much riskier zone.
Objection sustained. Overruled. You moving to strike?
Yeah, motion to strike everything after, yes.
Yes.
But didn't Jason only have 40 milligrams? Yes or no?
Yes.
In your own words, you say that you just found traces of Adderall, isn't that right?
Yes.
And lastly, you have no idea who supplied Jason Johnson with that Adderall. do you?
Objection, Your Honor, outside the scope of cross.
Outside the scope of direct.
Direct.
Counsel, you repeat objection substitute. Was this brought up in direct?
Yes, Your Honor, because we're talking about supply of Adderall with Adderall is done to Jason. It's vital to know if he was a supplier.
That's not what the court said. The objection is outside
It's outside the scope of this.
direct examination.
Of this cross, because the supplier of Adderall was never.
Objection overruled.
So, do you have any idea who supplied Jason Johnson
Objection,
with
Your
the
Honor,
Adderall?
relevance.
Counsel?
Your Honor, this is just further emphasizing the point that it is impossible to know who supplied Jason with the Adderall, and therefore Ray Concha cannot be found guilty.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
No.
My witness is an expert medical coroner and examiner, and would not be able to testify as to who supplied the Adderall. You'd only be able to testify as to what the effects of the Adderall that Jason ingested had on Jason's body.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Counsel?
If Dr. DeSanchez does not know, the answer can just be a no.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
That's your.
This question is irrelevant. It is inappropriate considering the status of my witness.
Stop time for a second. So your better thing is that no personal knowledge. That would have answered the thing there.
Okay.
Assuming she made the objection.
Conducted an autopsy on Mr. Johnson, so there's really no way we know.
So you don't know who supplied Jason Johnson with Adderall, is that right?
There's no way I could know, so no.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No, Your Honor. May the witness please